1. You're live.
Hey, it's last call, Saturday, August the 9th, and this is a very special episode. No, Ariel Epstein's not here. That's not why it's special. I am Steve Merril filling in, but we have 3 guests today. The 4 of us combined have been handicapping each for 4 decades since the 90s at a minimum. This might be the first show in WagerTalk history where everybody on board, the entire show, has been here for 4+ decades each. Gianni the Greek, Teddy Covers, Ross the Boss Benjamin, and once again, I'm Steve Merril. This is an action-packed episode for Saturday, August 9th. We're going to talk baseball. NFL preseason's here, and we're also going to get the Steam report right off the top. Let's start with the Steam report, Ace, and I know you might throw some other sports in there. You got WNBA, you've got UFC at times. What are you looking at here on Saturday?
Yeah, I have so much information for you today, Steve. I've been banging since 5 a.m., man. It's now 3 hours, and we've just betting everywhere. I knew it was going to be a busy day. My man Block, welcome to the party, brother. Hope you crush it today. Real quickly, let me pass along a couple PFL fights that go off this morning. I sent out 5 PFL bets to my subscribers. One of them's a 4% bet. It's at WagerTalk.com for free. So if you go to WagerTalk, there's the free picks page, or on my page, there's a 4% PFL fight that's there for free. Bet through multiple accounts, multiple groups on the same side. Also gave out 3 2% plays in this PFL card that goes off in about 5 minutes. In an hour, forgive me. It's noon Eastern. It's only what's it called? 11 a.m. on the East Coast. It's 8 a.m. here. Here's the other 3 that I gave out. 2% plays, premium plays, but 2%. Wasabi Adesina minus 160. Osulano Benedito at even money. And then British Bolo Yarni. It's in Africa, so that name's a little difficult. I'm crushing these names, forgive me, at minus 120. So those are 2% plays. And then there is a 4% play over at WagerTalk.com. I also like Dwight Joseph. That got steamed at minus 200, but by the time I was going to give it out, it got up to minus 250. It's probably minus 300 by now, so I passed on that. But just wanted to pass that wrong. So sorry, Steve, to jump out ahead of you. Just wanted to get those PFLs because I thought it was noon Eastern, but they got an hour, so no rush.
I have to say, I named all those sports trying to figure out what you might cover, and then you throw PFL out there. I had to remember what that stood for. Professional Fighters League, if I'm not mistaken, because I know there's some viewers that probably don't know what it stands for. I didn't know till a couple months ago. What else are you looking at here on Saturday? What else?
Okay. Obviously, it's NFL. NFL, all the focus is on NFL today. The early game is about to go off at 1 p.m. Eastern. I can tell you New York Giants at +3 is the sharp side. New York Giants up to +3, laying a little juice to get that +3. I was able to get it at minus 120. 2.5 is pretty much at even money at most places. If you agree with it, the Giants, that line's probably still available. A couple other NFL steam moves. We've been seeing some big line moves. So once it gets through some key numbers, you want to be careful, piggyback in steam. We saw that in the first day with the Eagles covering that number after Cincinnati moved. But yesterday, the opposite. New England did get the job done. So closing line value does matter. And here's a couple of those signs that are sharp in preseason. 123 Tennessee minus 1.5. That's why you're looking at a key number of 3. 127 Kansas City minus 1.5. Same reason you're looking at minus 3. 131 over 33 Miami Chicago, which is why it's 35.5. And then under 37 Saints Chargers. The reason that's only moved about 0.5 point is because the early steam went over. I'm with the group of guys that came in on the under after that adjustment. So those are some of the NFL moves that we were able to get ahead of. Some other steam moves that I was not able to get ahead of. 118 Minnesota, they laid minus 1.5 and 2 on Minnesota. Game 120, they laid up to 2 on Jacksonville. And what else was it? Oh, Tennessee, 123 Tennessee, also minus 1.5 and 2 on Tennessee. You notice they bet those minus ones that moved through that key number or up to that key number of 3. That's where they backed off. So you got to be cautious there because 3 is just such a key number. We're talking about preseason right now. If you don't get out ahead of the market, you may be better off just waiting to get your money down a little bit better Because again, like you don't want to be taking the worst of it. I talked about it in yesterday's WagerTalk today, where with even the New England game, there was only one question. When a game goes from -1 to -6, you can't lay the favorite anymore. The only question is there now value on the underdog? You never want to be the one laying that 6, because even if they do cover and win by 10, you didn't place a good bet. And if you get into that habit because you think it's going to be a blowout and not really paying attention that the line has already moved significantly, you're not getting your money in good. And that's the goal if you're trying to make money doing this. Again, the ultimate goal is to cash tickets, but sometimes you could place a bad bet and cash a ticket, and that gets you into the habit of being okay with placing bad bets, and you just don't want to do that.
Yeah, you and Andy Lang had a great discussion a couple weeks ago on that on Wager Talk today, and I was on afterwards, so I saw it afterwards, and I agree with what both of you were saying, but I was on your side more on that. I hadn't talked to Andy since, about closing line value. You're never gonna win less games in the long run by beating closing line value.
That's the best quote. I need to write that down because you said that before.
Yeah.
And I tried remembering it and I couldn't.
Because it was killing me when I was waiting for you to hopefully say it in that segment, because I think that's the best thing to say, is that you're always going to win more bets by having a better number. It's mathematically impossible. But where I think where Andy was saying, he just didn't say it the way I would have said it, is that it could still be a good bet. For example, say a team should be a -10-point favorite. You get them at -3. It's a great bet. You still get them at -6. It's still a solid bet, right? And even if that's the closing line, if you really think the true line is 10. So you can have the best of both worlds, but it's always better to have the better number. I think that's where I kind of got lost a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. And it's hard to argue that the closing line's not more efficient than the opening line.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Just because you have more information by the time the line closes. So it should be more accurate of the true implied win probability. Again, if you don't know a player's injured early in the week, but he's hurt later in the week, that's going to adjust the line. So like that closing line is going to be more efficient. If you don't know it's going to be raining, snowing, or windy on Saturday, 5 days prior, that will affect the betting line, the total. So again, it's hard to argue that. It's kind of hard to, in 2025, it's strange that we're still arguing whether closing line value is going to give you a mathematical edge. It's hard. I can't understand why we're still arguing just little things like that. You would think that by now, everybody realizes that, yeah, it kind of matters to get a good line. But, again, they still argue that parlays is the way to go. You know what I mean?
I think the one argument you could say is
you have to place it at the same time at the same property, and it's hard to get the best line that way.
Yeah, that's my big argument against parlays too. Is you should have 5 or 6 sports books, and you have to get the same number at the same sports book on both plays, which is very unlikely. That's why long term that's not a realistic strategy. And if you're back testing that, it's fool's gold, because you're not really looking at the actual sport. By the way, something you did mention on the closing line value I thoroughly agreed with, because you and I think alike with the financial market correlations, is the closing price in the stock market, commodity, whatever you want to look at. If you're doing back testing, I'm usually using the closing price for my back test, because the closing price, once again, takes everything into account more than the opening price or even the midday price, because you have news and information, and it's going to be down for several hours. So once again, the closing price in the financial markets, the closing price in the sports betting markets is always the most efficient price. Let me ask you about these NFL line moves, though. One thing I will say about closing line values, it probably is not as important as 10 years ago, because I think the opening numbers are sharper now than they were 10 years ago, and the midday numbers are sharper, and they get corrected sooner, as you point out all the time with your Steam report. These NFL lines just continue to move. It's crazy what we see. The Ravens obviously went from a 1-point favorite, 6-point dog. They went outright. We see Cleveland get heavy bet against. They win by 20. But then the other two big line moves last night, they went easy. You have to make I guess the bottom line is what I said earlier. You have to have your own true number, right? And if there's still value, there's value. You have to know what the numbers should be and not worry about all this other stuff.
Yeah, and you also got to keep in mind that where we are right now in the NFL season, the books are also guessing a bit. You know what I mean?
Sure.
They don't have the information they're going to have in the regular season. And we see that with MMA all the time. The NFL market's so efficient, we're just not accustomed to seeing it without injuries or something significant. But we see it in the MMA market all the time, where the first book that goes to market they'll bring out fighter A as the favorite. And if you look at the line move, within 2 minutes, it flips and fighter B becomes the favorite. And it keeps climbing towards fighter B's position. So there's going to be those inefficiencies. They're going to get it wrong sometimes. And that's where that comes into play. Like you said, if you already have your number, what you think you should be shopping at, then you're gold. It's kind of like I say, if you're going to go shopping for a car, you're not going to go blindly shopping for a car. You're going to have already done a little research and going in with a price in your head of what I should be paying for it. You're not going to walk in, the guy's going to tell, oh, it's $54,000. You're going to be like, okay, I'll take it. Whether not knowing whether I should only be paying 44, whether I'm getting a great deal, I should be paying 64. You're going to have done that research a little bit before. And I think it's the same with sports betting. Like, you need to get out ahead of the matchups a little bit, not wait till game day, have an idea of what the line you should be. And you can't do that for every sport because I don't know every team and every market, but the ones you do know, like at least for those, try to write down your own line before you ever look up.
Correct.
Because you may determine sometimes that they're just way off. And, you know, if you trust your number, you're going to find some value that way.
And I'll get some baseball from you here in a moment before we leave.
Yes,
but I'll point this out. It's preseason's tough. Preseason's totally information-based. It's a completely different handicap, obviously, than the regular season. But the best advice I could give new bettors for this football season, before you look at a point spread on Sunday, whenever they come out, Sunday afternoon, Sunday night for the next week, make your own numbers. I've been doing this since the 90s. And it's harder now not to see the numbers right away. Back in the day, it was easy not to see them. You could do your own work and then check them. Now they're everywhere. They're popping up on your phone probably. But you start seeing the numbers and thinking that's the true number. You have to have a number beforehand. And it's the best advice I can give young handicappers is make your own number, what you think it should be, what you think it might be and what it should be. And then you'll know where it doesn't look right. And then when it moves, you'll know if there's still value later in the week or not, if you can play it. I mean, is this something you've done as well? You make your own numbers?
Always. And I was taught that from really young, when I first broke in, and it was what every guys were talking about power ratings, and I didn't even understand what they were. And then that was explained to me. And I was searching for the sharpest power ratings and trying to learn how to create my own. And it's just a process that you start to learn from different guys. And I am totally in the practice of doing that for every sport that I'm confident in. Like, I have never looked at the UFC lines without having already written down my numbers, because I realized I used to get biased. Before I had the confidence, it would bias me. Or now I look up and I'm like, oh, wait, I think fighter A should be favored, not fighter B. And a lot of times what happens is the line closes with fighter A as the favorite. And I'm like, okay, I was correct. You start to have confidence when you see that, and you start being willing to bet your opinion and your numbers. The more you see that the line's following what you're saying, even do it paper trading. You don't have to put up your own money. Just practice that. Write them down for today's NFL or week 1 NFL, what you think the line should be. Today's UFC, what you think the line should be, or next week's pay-per-view. And then compare yours and see, does the market move in my direction or away from me? And what are the end results? Like, you can do that without risking your capital. You can practice that. Again, you're not going to emotionally, you're not going to be like when you're betting real money, but you can still put your theories into practice. You can still, like you like to say, back test it and see, like, am I on the right road to creating good numbers? Like, does my opinion, is it on point? And I think that's the best way you could do it. Write down what you think the line should be and then compare it.
Yeah, I'm big on paper trading for both financial markets, and you can do it in the sports betting markets. One thing I'll add, though, is that it's so important to have a little skin in the game. I'd recommend even putting $1 down on each play. Even honestly, a single dollar or $5, whatever going to make you somewhat take it serious, where you don't just brush it off that Sunday night or that Saturday night for the next week. And, tell yourself, if I get a 2 or 3 point difference, I'm putting $5 on that game every week, even if it's 10 games. You'll have some action, probably have some fun with it. You'll have some action bets, and it'll make you take it serious, because you don't have to go out there and start betting $500,000 a game until you fine tune your skills. And that's the same thing with the financial markets. Gianni, I'll let you run here, but what else you got going on in baseball? Anything jump out there?
Before game 1 yesterday, 2 series bets got steamed. I released one to subscribers because I liked it. The New York Yankees at -105. They actually, they lost game 1. So for us to win that bet, they got to win today and they got to win Sunday. We didn't bet them in game 1, even though they did get steamed on screen. We didn't touch that side. We just have them for the series. So we need the Yankees today. And the Yankees actually did get steamed today at +105 and even money. They also bet Tampa Bay before game 1. Tampa Bay at +160. They also lost game 1. So now Tampa Bay's got to win the next 2 or that series bet is lost. As far as sides for today, 956 Pittsburgh, plus 105 even money. 962 St. Louis at even money. 963 Colorado, plus 200 and plus 1.5 on the run line. New York Yankees, I gave you. And then 974 Minnesota, plus 105. So if you notice, it's all those short dogs where it seems like coin flip kind of games, and the favorite side that's going a little higher seems to be giving a little value to these coin flip dogs. Only two totals that stuck out: 973 over 8.5 even money, Kansas City, Minnesota, and 969 under 10 up to minus 125, Athletics and Baltimore. I don't have a lot of volume in MLB. I only gave you the sides and the totals that I saw confirmation, like multiple groups on those sides. Because again, with so much going on today and the sports books, having to pay attention to everything, there'll be a lot of manipulation going on, especially in baseball, where they can move these money lines all over the place.
Yeah, it's something to keep in mind. With more sports on the board, more manipulation occurs in some of these other sports. Gianni the Greek, you find him obviously today at 11 a.m. Eastern here on Last Call, but every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, your time. Since you've been up at 5 a.m., that's Pacific time, I hope. I hope it wasn't 5 a.m. Eastern.
No.
Working hard.
Pacific.
What else you got going on at WagerTalk? What you got going on at WagerTalk? Anything else? And you do the steam room. I think you had that. Was it yesterday?
Yeah, we had that yesterday. That was a really good time. Went over a lot. So I have my UFC package up. There'll be more plays in there today. Already have a couple, including 4% best bets. Baseball package will be up within the next 30 minutes. We don't have WNBA today. We isolated another bet yesterday that got the W. Those we're very selective with those. And of course, I have my NFL preseason package for Saturday and for Sunday. And I have the futures up as well. NFL college football combo package with futures, and week 1 college football is already up. 3 bets I think we released already in that package. So busy time, man. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Do some damage today.
And you've also got 2 free plays for college football on your page right now as I'm looking at it in advance for mid-August, and then also an NFL regular season free play, an MMA free play for tonight.
Yes, sir.
I mean, if that's not a reason, 4 free plays right there. Go to his page, Gianni the Greek, WagerTalk.com, and you can catch him again this Monday at noon Eastern with Andy Lang here on WagerTalk today. Hey, let's get back to work.
Love you, brother. Good luck
been
today,
working hard
Steve.
enough.
You're the man, bro. Good luck.
Thank you. So that's one guy that's been in Vegas since the 90s. Let's bring in another guy that's been in Vegas since the 90s. Teddy, I think it was 1999, if I'm not mistaken. I started in 96. I think you started, was it full-time in 99? Not that you and I weren't doing this for years before that. What's the official start date for you?
August 6th, 1998 was the day.
98. Okay, 98.
Yeah,
I shorted you a year in the previous century.
Now, the next summer, the first year I came out here and I lived in an apartment, I was just trying to figure out what was going on. That next summer, I went back to Michigan, sold the house, and brought Kara out here.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that aspect of it.
The summer of 99 was when, it was I'm like, this is something I'm going to do for a while.
It was officially official in 99.
Sure. But
your probationary period was over.
And 98 was also, you guys were just talking about power ratings. The first year I was out here, that was the first year where I'm like, I got to start making power ratings. Let's figure out how to do it. And my advice for anyone out there that wants to do power ratings, you and Gianni were just talking about it.
Right.
This is how you start making power ratings. You just start. And then you adjust, and you go through box scores and you read the recaps and you adjust. But the key to good power ratings is not, it takes experience. You got to do it for a little while, but there are no barriers to entry for power ratings. All you do is you list the 32 teams in the NFL. All right, let's put down some numbers, and that's my first set of power ratings. I'm like, all right, well, let's look at the markets. And I copied 3 other sets and kind of merged them together into one. I'm like, all right, this is where I'm going to start, and then I'll adjust from here. And the first year they were pretty useless. By year 2, I'm like, all right, there might be something here. By year 3, I felt real comfortable with my power rating. So it's not going to be an overnight process. But at this stage, obviously, in my 4th decade in Vegas, you have a way of doing things. But when you're first developing a way to do things, like I'm sure many of our viewers are doing now, you just got to start. You start and you do little iterations, change it. And after a period of time, they'll be used to it. But there'll be use for it and what you've been able to accomplish. I mean, I don't know how you started making power ratings, Steve.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing I wasn't doing in the 90s was using a spreadsheet. I doubt you were either. I
was using Excel. Yeah,
were you in the 90s? I don't recall if I was. I mean, I definitely started pretty early doing it. I mean, Google wasn't around till 99, so I wasn't using Google Sheets like I am now in the 90s, that's for sure. But yeah, I guess, I definitely was using spreadsheets even in college in the mid 90s. So I might have been, but I wasn't relying on them like I do now. Let's put it that way. And they're a very powerful free tool. AI is here now. This is something we didn't have even just a couple years ago. I'm sure you all could probably start using ChatGPT and get some good free advice. But the biggest thing I tell people, Teddy, is that, a power rating is not as mystical as it sounds. And the point spread isn't as mystical as it seems either. It's projected margin of victory. And if you take margin of victory, all things equal, it's going to be close to the point spread. The problem is not all apples to apple comparisons. You got to make sure the strength of schedules are equal. So basically a starting pot for me was margin of victory with strength of schedule factored in. And that's kind of what the Sagergen rating was back in the 90s. And that was about as good as any rating. And if you do that now, it's a great starting point. And yes, it's going to be very close to the point spread. And your power ratings, by the way, should be very close to the point spread. If you're finding like a 7-point difference in every single NFL game and NBA game, then you're probably doing something wrong because the point spreads are accurate. They're efficient. But then you got to, I think where the real special sauce comes in and the skill is evaluating situational aspects to a game, injury situations, and how many points that's worth one way or the other. So point spread for me really is pretty vanilla. It's a starting point. It's probably pretty close to what the line should be. But then it's the adjustments you make. And also, I'll throw this out to you because I know you've talked a lot about this in recent years. Is home field advantage is a lot different than when we started in the 1990s. And your take on that. Do you think the sports books still accurately reflected that? Have they finally caught on? Because I feel like about a decade ago, when NFL home field was going from 3 to 2 to 1, diminishing returns on the home field advantage in a lot of sports, that was an edge I found, at least initially, with some power ratings.
Sure, I used to have a lot of fun betting road teams.
Right. It helped me
a brief period of time
teams.
where the home field advantage was absolutely, and I don't even know if brief is the right word, because I've always trended towards dogs and I've always trended towards road teams and found, home field to be able, and that's not like I'm only playing dogs or I'm only playing road teams, but I've often find that's where the value is. And again, when it comes to making lines, I make lines for college football with my set of power ratings. I make lines for NFL with my set of power ratings. I make lines for NBA. I work 3 sports with my power ratings. I don't make lines every day for MLB. I have an idea where I expect the line to be just from my familiarity with the teams and the pitchers and all of that. But that effort for baseball with starting pitchers and bullpen variants, I much more look for teams to ride in MLB than, today's line is a mispriced for this squad. Whereas in the NFL, you're definitely looking for, in the NFL, when a team plays good for 3 weeks, guess what? Now they're an overvalued commodity. It doesn't take long for the NFL marketplace to move. Other sports, the marketplace moves much slower, and that offers real opportunity for bettors who are paying attention and making power rating numbers for every game.
Yeah, and Teddy gets off to historically strong starts in the NFL week 1 now. Over the last 10 years, 30-11. That's right, 30-11, 73%. And 8-2, 80% on week 1, 5% big ticket plays. So you might want to pay attention to how he gets started in the NFL. And of course, his NFL season wins report is locked and loaded right now on his page at WagerTalk.com. A mere 103-52, 66% for the last 24 years. Teddy, I talked about all the experience on the show today. Some of our viewers haven't been alive for 24 years. You've gone 103-52 those last 24 years in the futures report. So you might want to check that out. His NFL futures report is also available, including 17-4 in those 5% big ticket plays. I believe, was it Saints under last year was the 5% winner, right? And
yeah, sure.
Another big one for this season.
It was a big sweat after the first 2 weeks. You remember the Marlins came out last year and dominated the first 2 weeks. And I was sitting there going, but all's well that ends well.
But that speaks
when you're talking about an under like that, depth is a huge piece of the handicap, and the Saints had real depth issues last year. I've got an under again this year as my 5% big ticket, and I think depth issues could rise up there as well.
Well, it makes sense, right? The depth's going to hurt you later in the season, so that's why you can't sweat the fast start. But it also goes, what I was going to say, it goes back to how random week 1 and week 2 can be. I mean, I've said that it's always been week 5 of the NFL preseason. Well, I can't say that anymore because there's only 3 weeks. So now week 1 could be week 4 of the NFL preseason, which in a regard I think makes it more random. So once again, you can't, and you do find good value sometimes fading teams after weeks 1 or 2, or vice versa, jumping on board after some misleading starts. Let's focus while I've got you on some NFL preseason. I think we're going to do a big game breakdown for tomorrow's game. Do you still want to do that game here in a little bit, the Bears-Dolphins?
Yeah, let's talk Bears-Dolphins, but I just saw some stuff pop up on the screen.
Yeah, let's talk tonight's games first, and then we'll close out with a little look at tomorrow's game.
Sure. Just some of the stuff that's popped up. Party like at 1990. Always appreciate you, Roger Long.
Yeah, Roger's been around too.
Yeah, he's awesome. And there was a question about the documentary that I was in. It's called Life on the Line. You can still find it. It's on Apple. It's on all your streaming platforms. That was for the Steelers-Packers Super Bowl. Was that 2011 or something of that nature? But yeah, it was a documentary that my friend Isaac Feeder made, and you can still find it. And there are things about it that I think are still good. So it's held up over time. Questions about the Giants and the Bills. I lean G-Men in this ballgame. I do. I have not pulled the trigger. And, of course, we've seen just wild line moves on this. There was at one point the Giants were laying 3, and Buffalo was +3. And at one point, Buffalo was laying 3, and the Giants were +3. And now we're seeing 2.5s across the board, 37.5. The G-Men do have a QB rotation that we like in August. There's urgency for the backup job, but
McDermott's been good.
Yeah.
that's the
Exactly.
I think that's the quandary in this game, right? I think that's the only reason we see the bill. I think that, like you said, that on paper, the quarterback situation probably would normally have money coming in on a team like the Giants, the more desperate team in the preseason. But McDermott's got the second best point spread record behind a guy named Harbaugh, who became a big dog the other night and still won outright. Although he had been 0-7 ATS before that, Teddy, as you know.
Sure, which tells us how good he was prior.
Oh, incredible.
The 0-7 run. Harbaugh was as money could get for August. But McDermott's another guy who cares about winning in August. And from a whose third stringers are better standpoint, my finger's going to point to the Giants. Giants have more competition on that roster. Giants have the better undrafted rookie free agents. If you had a choice between going to Buffalo or going to New York, you go to New York because the roster spots are available there. So the lean here is the G-Men for me. I did not pull the trigger. In fact, I haven't bet anything for the clients today in NFL preseason action, despite that it's a deeper card. I am in action on one of the 2 games tomorrow. And before all said and done, I might be in action on both the 2 games tomorrow. We'll see.
And, Johnny mentioned this, and I knew you were probably chomping at the bit offset when he said 3 is the key number, because I know something you do I'll say you preach this, is that 1 and 2s are maybe more important than 3s in the preseason. Explain that.
Sure. Well, so now that we have ties, back in the day before there were ties in the preseason, the 1 and the 2 were extraordinarily, because every coach is looking to avoid overtime. You don't need extra snaps. You don't need guys getting hurt when they're tired. So the whole second half, coach would be going for 2 instead of trying to tie the game, they'd be trying to untie the game. So the 1s and the 2s were 1s, 1.5s, 2s, 2.5s were extraordinarily important. In the modern era where they've changed the rules so you can have ties in preseason, they're not quite as important as they were. Nonetheless, there is a huge difference between a +1 and a +2.5 in August. Much bigger than the difference between a +1 and a +2.5 in September.
Sure.
In addition, in August in the NFL, I only want to take the points. I don't want money line at +1, at +1.5, at +2, at +2.5. I don't want the dog on the money line. I want those points. Those points often come into play. In the regular season, at +2, the money line is a very viable option. +2.5, same story. For all or part of your wager. But in the preseason, I'm always taking the points, not looking for the plus price return. So many of these games get decided by a field goal or less. There's just not that much difference between this third string offense and that third string defense. And that's what we see on the field in the second half of these games. And we'll see a bunch of that today, I'm sure.
Let me ask you about this, Teddy. I was actually going to ask Johnny about this, but we covered so many other things. This reminds me a lot of Game 3 in the NBA playoffs, home teams down 0-2. We're seeing situations where the first half line is the same, sometimes higher than the full game line. And it's interesting. We have a 7-point favorite with Denver tonight. First half line is 4.5 juiced. It's -6. It's almost the same, even in that one. But you look at the other ones like Minnesota, 4, it's at 4. Jacksonville 4, 3.5. Tennessee, I think, is 2.5, 3. You're talking about a lot of games, almost all the games in which you have a sizable favorite. It's the same as the first half line. Now, obviously, that's because this information is based usually on quarterback rotations, starters playing longer, which means all of these second halves are pick-ems, right? So we have more opportunities, different ways to play these games than we did maybe when we started in the 90s with first half bets. Obviously, in-game bets did not exist back then on preseason games. Your thoughts on all this? I mean, any advantages to be found?
Of course. And let's talk about some of these lines. I mean, let's talk about some games in particular. Let's talk about Houston, Minnesota, because all the reports out of both of these camps is defense is dominating the offense. Defense is dominating the offense. I mean, in Minnesota, that's, oh my God, this is a Super Bowl winning defense. The reports out of Minnesota's camp is defense. This defense is unbelievable. We love the defense. Oh my God, the defense is fantastic. And it's a similar story with DeMeco Ryans and the Texans, where the defense has been the better of the two in training camp. Yeah, look at the total. Open 36, was 37, 30. Now I'm seeing 38.5s out there for two teams that have been where their defenses have played better than their offenses throughout training camp. So why is that? Urgency is why. First of all, we've seen a heavy move to the over so far here in week 1 of the preseason. What we have now, we've had 7 preseason games. 6 of them gone over the total, and many of them by margin. We're not talking about games that have snuck over by a half point or by a point. We're seeing a little bit better red zone execution. We've also seen a bunch of special teams touchdowns already. We had a punt return touchdown and a kick return that sends it down to the 20-yard line. And the turnovers for the Lions-Chargers game were all near the goal line, so it set up short fields. I mean, things have broken right for overs so far. But we've certainly seen an early trend towards the overs. And with Houston and Minnesota, two teams that have struggled offensively in camp, there's urgency for those offenses to show something here. Not with my money on the over in that ballgame, I'll put it that way. But the markets have clearly moved in that direction. Two teams that they expect to be throwing the football a fair bit up and down the field. When it comes to Denver, San Francisco, and again, Denver was a great bet. At -7, not so much. But for the 49, by the way, for the Texans, it's worth noting with the injury to C.J. Gardner-Johnson, that has affected Houston's game plan. And now the injury is not quite as serious as initially thought. It doesn't look like he's going to be out for the year. But that was their big prized free agent pickup. When a guy like that gets hurt in a practice, in training camp, it can affect the mentality of a whole team. And Houston is built to win defensively. So you wonder if the Texans maybe take a little tap off the gas pedal in this ballgame. The market seemed to think they're going to. For Denver, San Fran, look, every report out of Denver is don't underestimate this team. This team's looking dominant. Bo Nix is phenomenal. The offense is clicking. The defense is Super Bowl caliber. I mean, the joint practices with San Francisco, the joint practice was pretty one-sided in favor of Denver. And the 49ers, when I talk about preseason rules per se, one of the rules for preseason is the teams that are banged up are bet against. And San Fran is banged up all over the place. Their injury report's a mile long. There's going to be a ton of guys that aren't playing. So you have one team that's looking dominant on both sides of the football, and the other team is a veteran squad that's banged up already. You can understand why the money has moved for Denver. But if you like the Broncos, it's too late. You're not going to make money in the NFL betting a team that was +1 at the open when they're -7 now, even if the information shows it. It's just, maybe the Broncos kill them. But I would not consider that a positive expectation wager at the current number. Do something, maybe bet for San Fran team total under.
Let me ask you this, Teddy, on that game. I know you probably aren't playing it, but if you had to play that game, would you rather lay Denver -7 full game or Denver -6 first half or -4.5, -130 first half? It's basically the same. See where I'm going with that? It's very interesting to me, these options you have now in the betting markets, because obviously Denver's first half should have a huge edge against San Fran, but then if they're banged up, would you rather just, lay an extra point and have the full game working for you there in the second half?
No, I've been reading good reports out of every part of Denver.
I'd rather have the longer game to cover an extra point there.
Their second string, their third string defense can make some noise. I don't mind Jarrett Stidham or Sam Ehlinger,
Yeah, that's true. You got the quarterback edge probably still too. Yeah,
I'll take full game, but once it gets to 7, Now you got to win by 8. Even if you win by a touchdown, you don't make any money. It's too high. But if I had to play it, it'd only be the Denver side. It'd only be the -7. I know you. So I had a wrong side. I hate having wrong sides in preseason because you look stupid and your clients go, "What the hell are we betting this stuff for?" I had a wrong side yesterday. I thought there was value with Washington. And they gave up a kick return touchdown to open the game, and it never got any better than that. It was a complete disaster, complete wrong side loser. But part of my thought process is New England shouldn't be laying this. What's New England? There's not. I wasn't sensing that urgency from the past, and I was wrong in that assessment. Dead wrong. First loser of the preseason, and it really, didn't make me very happy. I'm sure it didn't make the clients very happy because we don't like wrong. Again, in August, there's a reason you're not betting anything based on your opinion. Everything's information. And I couldn't find information that said New England's all that interested, any more interested. And of course they were. The markets were right, and I was wrong. In this instance, with San Francisco, with Denver, San Fran, it's that Denver's interested, San Fran isn't, and the markets are showing it. But once you start getting the lane and winning by more than a touchdown, it can and does happen, but it's priced me out of the game.
Yeah, and that's what it really comes down to is, how much value is left when it moves 6, 7, 8 points. We had a question earlier in the chat about, do you rely on power ratings at all in the preseason?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think you would. Yeah.
What I'm trying to do in August is take my opinion out of the equation about the teams completely. Literally, all I want to bet on is this coach's quote, this defense coordinator's quote, this offense coordinator's quote, this coaching track record. This team's all banged up and isn't going to be playing anyone. Or has to, like the Texans today. Were you worried about that? Or San Francisco, when teams are injured, that's far bigger than any opinion about how you want to have about the teams. But, in the regular season, New England's not laying a touchdown to Washington. All right. It's not your opinions about how good the teams are. It's not how good your opinions about the quarterbacks are. It's the information. The only way to find the info is to dig. So you read. You read a lot of beat writers in August, probably more than any other time of the year. I try to read multiple beat writers for every team every day. And, that's how I spend my days at this time of the year, clicking around. What info do we find? Is it worth betting now? So it's not about opinions at all. It's only information.
So on the way out, let's give everybody something for tomorrow on Sunday. We have a ton of games, I think like 8 today, but we do have 2 tomorrow on Sunday in the NFL. And the early game on Sunday at 1:00 Eastern is Dolphins and Bears. Bears have a new head coach, right? And we always talk about motivation in the preseason. So I'm curious your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, let's talk about Miami and Chicago. Early start NFL preseason action on Sunday. And of course, right now, looking at the Odds Logic live odds screen, I'm seeing the Bears -3. Total in this game sitting 34.5, 35. Now, for Miami, we've seen Tua look really good in camp, but it doesn't look like he's going to play. Zach Wilson and Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers, a 6th-rounder out of Texas, should get ample playing time. Wilson, is pretty much locked into the backup job. Ewers are going to try for it, but again, a 6th-round rookie, not likely to get there. The quotes was Ewers is managing the playbook well. There's a 9-day install process that he's just gone through. Offensive coordinator Darren Bevel, quote, every day talking about, Ewers, who's going to be on the field when this point spread is decided. Quote, every day comes out and gets a little bit better. He's putting a lot of good stuff on tape, doesn't make a lot of mistakes. When he makes a mistake, we're able to get it corrected. He's willing to work on the little details. We're asking him to, and we're happy with where he's at. Ewers, quote, I'm still learning, trying to play my game at the end of the day and have fun doing it. I feel like I'm playing faster every day and have a good grasp of what's been installed so far. The quotes to me, reading between the lines, is no, he's not ready. I know the coach is saying, yes, I'm ready. He's getting a little bit better every day. He's seeing things clearly. I don't think Quinn Ewers is ready. And those quotes are both telling me, yeah, the install's getting there. It's not an easy offense that they're running down in Miami. And I would expect some mistakes from this young QB. These two teams just had a joint practice session. It wasn't pretty for Miami. The Bears physically manhandled them, both sides of the football. In particular, Dennis Allen's defense ate up Miami's offense. And for Chicago, they too have a bunch of installs that they've been working on for a new offense under Ben Johnson. That being said, there were issues last week at this time with that offense. I didn't get any sense that that's going on this week at this time. And when you talk about a QB trio that you might want your money, I don't know how much Caleb Williams we're going to see. Not much. In fact, none. Tyson Bagent is going to be the starter. And then we got Case Keenum and Austin Reed. Keenum's been a starter in the league. Reed's been in this system and was good in the preseason last August. And the reports from Chicago has Bagent looking really good so far. So even though it's a new system and a new offense in Chicago, I think they're a little bit ahead of the curve right now. And there's certainly urgency when you talk about playing at home with a new coach in his first. Again, he's not going to freak out if they lose, but it feels like the Bears are going to play well in that early start game tomorrow. If I'm playing, I'm laying with Chicago. And by the way, guys, before I let you go, we appreciate those likes very, very much. Boom, hit that like button. Follow WagerTalk.com on Instagram, on X, on YouTube. What do we have? 210,000 followers on our YouTube channel now. It's insane, obviously. And, of course, leave a comment. Tell us what you think below. Appreciate it. That's what I think for Chicago and Miami early start action on Sunday.
Teddy covers, one of the best in the business. He's been doing it a while, just like myself, Gianni the Greek. Our next guest, Ross Benjamin. By the way, Teddy, there's a rumor that you and Ross are going to both be recording some videos at the Westgate over the next week.
Yeah, Ross is coming to town, and he was kind enough to invite me to join him, and we'll be doing a big college football preview next week. I prepped on it. He asked me to prep some stuff, and I actually spent a couple hours prepping it the other day, and I'm going to work on it this weekend as well. So we should have some good insights for you, and look for that content, free content, more quality free content from the WagerTalk.com team.
And we didn't get to any baseball. We had so much football, but you want to get Teddy's baseball best bets for Saturday, for this Sunday, for the weekend. Check him out right now at WagerTalk.com. Teddy covers free plays daily there as well at WagerTalk.com. All right, last but definitely not least, the boss man, Ross the Boss. Another capper that's been around since the 90s. You know, Ross, I was thinking about this. This might be a historical show today on Wager Talk.
Yeah.
All four of us, Steve Merril, Gianni the Greek, Teddy Covers, Ross Benjamin, have all been doing this since at least professionally full-time since the 90s, even before that for some of us. But some expertise, to say the least. Anything catch your ear so far when you've been waiting on the sidelines to jump on?
Yeah, I love all the stuff you're talking about with NFL preseason. You know, you hear a lot of people out there saying you can't make any money on the NFL preseason. That's ridiculous, because you can. You just have to have a method to your madness. And Teddy went over a lot of information there that he does. I go about it a different way, but you know, there's. I hate to use the phrase, there's more than one way to skin a cat, because that offends some people, but you get what I'm trying to say, Steve. We all have our own style. You have yours. And at the end of the day, that's why we're all on WagerTalk.com, because all of our styles are effective over the long haul.
Yeah, you know who really hates that saying is cats. That's what I found out over the years.
I have two of them. My wife would probably kill me if she heard me say that.
What are those ones that have no fur that look like they're pink, like on Austin Powers? Dr. Evil had one of those, like skinless. Yeah. They're not skinless. They're hairless. I guess they aren't skinless, but they're hairless. We are going to get to some baseball in a moment. Ross, he's actually got a pick on the Brewers and Mets, one of his New York teams. We're going to get to that in a moment. But if you have any baseball questions, any games you want to cover in the live chat, we got a few minutes left in the show. Drop them in the chat. We'll get to them as well. But let's stick with the NFL real quick, Ross. I want to get your thoughts on backing sizable dogs in the NFL preseason. You know, we talked about that Denver game. It's up to 7 now from basically as -1 +7. We saw that with the Ravens the other night, right? -1 to +6. They went outright. At what point, you're obviously bucking the information, because it's never, there's always a reason a team's a sizable dog in the preseason, but are there little under the radar things you look for where sometimes maybe you start to back those dogs, or how do you approach it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a thorough believer, and I have been over the years, that no team really deserves to be a favorite of more than a touchdown in the preseason. And the numbers will back that, Steve. I know we can go over reports like Teddy just did, and all of that is viable stuff. I mean, there's a reason why he's as good as he is. It's because that stuff has worked for him over the years. But when you look at the fact that just some blind numbers, I mean, home underdogs of 6.5 or greater during the preseason, 15-5 against the spread since 2005. And not only 15-5 against the spread, but those home underdogs of 6.5 or greater have won 8 of those 20 games straight up, with another one ending in a tie. I mean, but if you compare that to the regular season, I mean, over that same course of time during the regular season and playoffs, I should mention, home underdogs of 6.5 or greater are exactly 50% against the spread and 20.6% straight up winners. So you could see there's a drastic difference there between handicapping the preseason when we get sizable home underdogs such as what we're discussing, and during the regular season. So, I mean, I have a little more, but if you want to comment on that, Steve, I'll take a deep breath here.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said too, is that so many, and I see it all the time too, so many people are like, you're a degenerate if you're betting the NFL preseason. You can't make money betting the NFL preseason. First of all, whenever someone tells me I can't do something, it's just my nature to want to do it. And second of all, when it involves something involving money, they're usually wrong. And if you think about what everyone thinks you can beat, it's the NFL regular season, which is probably the sharpest betting market of all and the toughest to beat of any sport, any betting market. So it's kind of backwards. And you can play, hey, look, everything in life has odds. I'm going to walk down the street later. Hopefully there's not thunderstorm, but there's odds still that I might get struck by lightning, right? It's risk reward. I'll take the chance. So yeah, you can put odds on anything. So it always cracks me up when you say you can't bet the preseason, because theoretically, if it's so random, every game should be a pick 'em, which means taking +6 or +7 and every time you can do it makes money. And that's kind of what you're saying has worked over the last several decades. So those of you out there who think you can't bet the preseason, just bet the big dogs in. That backs your theory, and Ross has the numbers saying it works. And in Teddy's defense, as you know, he said he wouldn't have touched that game.
Right.
No, and the only way to play it's the information. But I do think the market's also, now granted, the opening line in the preseason, like Gianni said, is different than the regular season because they're putting it out on the blind, and then news comes in on who's playing and who's not. And the sportsbooks will be like, well, we never would have put that number out. So it's not like it's really moving 7 points from what the number was. But in general, in the regular season too, sportsbooks aren't off by that much. And now more than ever, you can make a case that the opening number is sharper than it's ever been. So I think there is a viable betting strategy going forward in any sport, any time of year, to take adjusted line value of 5, 6, 7 points when you can get it. And we see that, Ross, in the NBA with the injuries. Team will move 7 points and they win outright still, right? If you just blindly bet the other way on those injuries. Anything else you want to add on football?
I mean, the first thing that I would look at when I see a line move, as you just alluded to, is somebody's out, somebody's not playing, somebody decided they're going to use their starters and the other team isn't, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I mean, if we know that, the books know that, and more so than ever in the NFL preseason, and this is what you were saying in a nutshell, Steve, is line movements in the NFL preseason are mostly not money generated. They're a result of information as opposed to the regular season. You know, again, one more thing is just betting underdogs of 7 or greater in the NFL preseason. 81-51 against the spread, 61.3% on the blind. That's without any other condition involved in there since 2005. So if you look at the difference in the regular season, once again, dogs of 7 or greater over the same time period, they're only 52.8% against the spread in favor of the dog of 7 or greater. So there's a drastic difference when you're handicapping NFL preseason versus regular season, not only through the numbers, but various other topics too. Steve, I don't know about you, but I like looking at head coaching trends during the preseason. I think those hold water. You mentioned Harbaugh. He slowed down a little bit, but again, he came through as a 6-point dog the other night. You mentioned McDermott. You look at the opposite end of the spectrum, Dan Quinn's preseason record as a head coach in Atlanta and Washington has been horrible. So there's a lot more importance for some head coaches than there are others, and you can't ignore that factor when you're breaking down games.
Absolutely correct. And I think quarterback rotations are important, just like starting pitchers are important in baseball. But I think it's somewhat overrated now on the lines in both sports. And you can make an argument, obviously, it's very similar because in baseball, you're getting maybe 5 or 6 innings out of that handicap because the starters are pulled, and then it's randomness with the bullpen. As I pointed out earlier, most of these first half lines with the big favorites are the same as the full game because it's all based on that known quantity of the first, second quarter rotations. And they're all saying the second half is a pick 'em. So there again, you're only handicapping half the game with this information, whereas the coach's motivation is constant throughout the game. Second half, when all backups are out there, which is very important, especially for a home team. And Bills and Buffalo have been the two best. They both are at home this week. We'll see how this Buffalo game turns out today. But that's where the motivation comes in, is when it's a tight game in the third or fourth quarter. Does one team actually kind of want to win more than the other? So I think, once again, the sample sets you're given is much more important than one day of maybe quarterback information that we're trying to figure out how that's going to play out. A couple minutes left. Ross got a lot of baseball I want to touch on. I know you're going to look at that Brewers-Mets games, but a lot of people in the chats are asking about some. I'll throw them out to you. See if you have any thoughts on these in particular. Crypto's asking about Baltimore and the Athletics. Nobody's Oakland Athletics against my Baltimore Orioles. Just played my Washington Nationals. Also, Reds Pirates. Thoughts on Red Sox? If any of those jump out to you in particular?
Yeah, I mean, the A's game jumps out at me because you got Young going for Baltimore, and he's been prone to giving up the long ball. And if you look at the A's, they're one of the best power hitting teams in baseball. I don't think a lot of people realize that. They're even better on the road, where they average 1.5 home runs per game on the road, 91 home runs and 61 on the road. So my lean there would go toward the A's. You get them between minus 100 and minus 105. The other two games you mentioned were the Red Sox and the Cincinnati.
Yeah, any thoughts on the Red Sox Titans CT, one of our loyal viewers, and then also V Smokies asking Reds Pirates. And I'll give a shout out to one of my coaches, my partners in crime, basketball football coach Daniel Owens, big Nationals fan. Left Williamsburg at 7 a.m. Thursday morning to go up to that noon Eastern game to watch the Nats get shut out 6-0 by the A's. It's funny you talk about the power numbers for Oakland because they're in a hitter-friendly park in Sacramento. So that is very interesting to me that they have better power road numbers. I will say this, though. When you're a homeless, transient team like that, you have no home field advantage, and you probably do play better on the road, right? Hobos love to travel. The Oakland A's.
I know I do.
Major League Baseball.
I don't know if I'm a hobo, but I like to travel.
I never called you a hobo. Look at that, putting words in my mouth. My goodness. Not everything's about you, Ross Benjamin.
No, man, you're the best, bro. You back me 100%.
I don't know if I'm a hobo, but I like to travel. I might use that line.
In any event, that's sort of shocking because it's a AAA ballpark they play in Sacramento. Yeah. And the visiting teams have definitely had a lot more success in power numbers against them in that ballpark. In terms of the Reds and Pirates game, I really don't have a strong opinion, Steve, because number one, Ashcraft is I believe he's a former Red, if I'm not mistaken. If not, he's a relief pitcher. So it's not like they're going to ask him to go more than 2 or 3 innings there. And it's hard for me to fade Pittsburgh at home right now. They won the first 2 games of this series. Nick Martinez on the mound for Cincinnati. He's uninspiring numbers to me. So that's a stay away game for me. And the Red Sox, help me out, Steve. Here we go. Giolito against King. I mean, King has been out for the majority of the year, hasn't he? Michael King, if I'm not mistaken. And when I see a pitcher going in a spot like that, and Giolito has been erratic this year, that's another game. There's better games on the board to me than choosing one of those latter two. That I would, out of the 3, I would have the strongest lean toward the A's today.
And I know you're going to give us a free play in this Brewers-Mets game in about 1 minute, but one last one, Andrew. Another loyal viewer here is asking about Tigers-Angels. If nothing jumps out, just say so, but I didn't know if you saw anything in that game.
Yeah, Tigers, Charlie Morton, all of a sudden he's starting to pitch like he was when he was younger, but I don't trust him. Kikuchi, I don't trust him either, especially on the road. The Angels bullpen has pitched a lot better. They definitely have. When you're looking at recent bullpen performance, the Angels have been much better over the last week than Detroit has been. Detroit, came off that little span where they couldn't win. Now they seem like they're getting back to their normal self. Barely squeaked by 6-5 with Skubal on the mound. It's almost like you're looking at the disparity in records here, and Detroit's only minus 130. I would have a small lean toward the Angels just because this looks too good to be true. With the Tigers at home facing an Angels team that's right around a 500 club.
Yeah, and the sharp money agrees with you, Ross. So they opened as high as minus 150, the Tigers, down to that minus 130 range now. So it does look like some early sharp money was on the Angels in that game. That's at 6:10 Eastern tonight. And before we let you go, give us something Mets Brewers. I'm checking it now. I'm seeing undecided. Myers has been switched from Milwaukee. This is only a single game, right? Not a doubleheader. This is the kind of moves you see sometimes with a doubleheader a lot of times in baseball. So I don't know if you still like this game or not, if these are the handicap pitchers you had. What are you looking at in this one?
Yeah, I mean, you're saying Tobias Myers got scratched?
No, I'm saying Myers has been the pitching change from Milwaukee. That was overnight.
Right.
I'm still seeing the Mets as undecided. Not sure if you're seeing something different in this.
No, I'm not. I'm not seeing it. I misunderstood what you said, Steve. My apology. Anyway,
No worries. I was kind of scrambling here too because this is the game that's the screen's lighting up right now. We're actually seeing some money coming on the over, by the way. Open 9 under. It's now 9 over. I'm looking at the Odds Logic live odds screen, but I know you're looking at the side here. So didn't know if something was changing maybe with the pitchers.
Yeah, I mean, the pitching is the starting pitching is you don't know who's going for the Mets, and Tobias Myers has been a relief pitcher for the most part this season. He has made 3 starts, but he's only gone 4 innings in those 3 starts. So this is a game both pitching staffs are going to patch together to get through this game. And with that being said, both bullpens have been very good. So I'm not really sure why the money is coming in on the over. I will say this. Sometimes you just need to keep it simple. And, this seems like a lazy handicap, which I get accused of on occasion. But, sometimes the public wins. There's 80% of the money on Milwaukee here. And look, these are 2 teams that are headed in opposite directions right now. The Mets have lost 5 in a row. They've lost 9 in their last 10. Their home and away splits are Jekyll and Hyde, 38-21 at home, 25-32 on the road. And also they're 1-9 in their last 10 as an away dog of plus 100 or greater. The Mets offense over their last 6 games, they're hitting just .211 as a team, less than 300 for a team on base percentage. This is a Brewers team, 32-9 their last 41. And also 7-0 their last 7 and 10-1 their last 11. Talk about a team playing really good baseball right now. And since the bullpens are going to play a major role in deciding the winner today, the Milwaukee's bullpen has been good for quite a while right now. And over their last 6 games, a 1.93 ERA. I think the bullpens are pretty much even if you look at the Mets bullpen performance lines over their last 6 games. But I just think the intangibles here favor the Brewers too much. And I'm seeing the Brewers at minus 129 at BetOnline. The last I looked, let me check that real quick. Actually, they're down to 118 at BetOnline. So I'm going to have a small lean here as a free play on the Brewers minus 118. Don't go overboard on this one, folks, because I don't like to bet big money on games where there's not a definitive starting pitcher on either side.
I can't believe you said a lazy handicap. If there's one thing Ross, the boss Benjamin, does not do is lazy handicaps. He does free. He is the least laziest man on WagerTalk TV. He does free play videos every day, as almost every you watching probably know, because he had an incredible and still has an incredible MLB free pick video run going this summer. But one that jumps out to me, though, is your best bets, 22-4.
Actually, that's
since
money
June
line.
23rd on MLB money line wagers, 22-4 over the past
wagers.
month plus.
Yeah.
And it's not just baseball. 125-83 in college football the last 2 years. Overall, all sports the past 3 months, almost 92-55 since mid-May. 92-55 all sports. 76-46 baseball over the last 3 months since early May. Ross, great time of year to be on the All Sports All Access. I know you got some special offers on your page. College football still just $5.99 for the full season. He's number one in baseball this year. He's number one in units earned. College football the last 2 seasons combined. Tell people how they get this. WagerTalk.com, Ross Benjamin.
Yeah, WagerTalk.com. You can go right to my personal link, wt.buzz/RB. Thank you for all those promos, Steve, by the way. Appreciate that. And number one in college football in both units earned and win percentage last year. And like Steve touched upon, over the last 2 college football seasons, number one in combined units earned over the last 2 seasons in college football. $5.99 for my entire college football season, right through the national championship game. You can get that right now at my site. $2.99 for a 30-day pass in all sports. Major League Baseball, folks, has just been on fire for myself. It's 73 units earned for the season so far. And that doesn't include since May 13th, where I've won well over 80 units. So a lot of good stuff to take advantage of right now. NFL, college football combined, $849, which will take you through the Super Bowl national championship game. And it's all about making money, folks. You know, it's about beating the number. And over the long haul is the best way to do that. And the best way to invest in that case is, how about a 365-day all-access pass for $19.99? Again, it seems like a steep price, but when you hear the numbers that Steve just rattled off for myself, you can see you can make a lot of money over the long haul and save yourself a lot of money in investment.
Yeah, a single play is $25 per day. Multiple plays, $50 for maybe one day. You get that 1 year all access, even at $19.99. You're talking about just a few dollars a play for every sport, every day, for 365 days and nights. And that's how you take a true investment approach with any capper at WagerTalk.com. And you might want to consider multiple cappers with those 1 year packages. And by the way, contact WagerTalk's award-winning customer support. If you'd like multiple cappers, tell them you want Ross Benjamin and Steve Merril. They'll put a combo offer together for you. I'll work with Ross.
Hey,
I'll work with
anytime,
Ross for free.
Steve. It would be an honor.
Anybody.
Yeah,
And,
if I could just mention one more thing.
Yeah, man.
Again, you mentioned it earlier. Me and Teddy will be doing a college football betting preview show live from the Westgate Sportsbook on Wednesday. That will air live at 11 a.m. Eastern time, or Pacific time, which is 2 p.m. Eastern. I get screwed up with the time zones. And I look forward to doing that with Teddy, and folks, tune in. I mean, you heard my college football record and got a huge futures play that I discussed with Steve. And if you didn't hear that, you'll hear it again on Wednesday.
I didn't realize you had a time set for that. I was going to promo that then again. Okay, so that's this Wednesday. That would be August 13th at 11 a.m. Vegas time at the Westgate. So people can come out and hang out at the Superbook. Maybe say hi to Ross and Teddy before or after as well, correct?
That is correct. And that also will be on archive as well. So if you can't make it and you're working, it's understandable. You can get it on archive at WagerTalk TV. You can get all my videos actually at my personal link. And Steve loves this, which is wt.buzz/Ross TV.
Ross TV. Johnny Detroit in the Johnny Detroit in the chat the other week, 2 weeks ago, and I guest host. I said, I want one. Johnny goes, contact me. I forgot to do it. I want a link. I want all show long. I've been thinking I want a nickname in quotes. That's what I want.
Look at man.
Do I dare ask the commenters to give me a nickname suggestion during the football videos here, or is that going to be playing with fire?
Yeah,
that might be pretty fun, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Nickname Steve. Let's have a contest this fall.
Well, you know, they started calling me Ross the Boss all the time in the comment section. You know what I mean?
But that's what I love is he didn't give himself that nickname. It was given to him by the loyal viewers. When someone nicknames you the boss, not yourself, that's a sign of respect.
Well, you know what? Bruce Springsteen has nothing on me, folks. So
that's right. I forgot there was another boss. I like you better than Bruce Springsteen. You're a great. He does songs about America, but you're a great American, even though you're close to that Canadian border. I
love that quote that you on my birthday. You wished me happy birthday, and you said America's became a great place on 8/1/57.
I said it was a great day in American history, and I won't say how many years ago unless you want to publicly reveal. But I said this was a great day in American history so many years ago, and it was Ross's birthday a couple weeks ago. He is a year wiser, and you can find him every day, free videos, no joke, basically every single day. And I'm doing them almost every day now with baseball. And then, of course, football. You and I will be in full throttle here on Wager Talk TV. That's Ross the Boss Benjamin. We had Teddy Covers, Gianni the Greek. And, of course, I am Steve Merril. Hope you enjoyed this episode, over an hour long. We maybe broke a record here, but I thought it was pretty good info. And if you want more, Tokyo Brandon is on live, I think right now, with his baseball show at Saturdays at noon, which is who knows what time over in Tokyo. It's in the wee hours, and he tries to stay awake and sober. That's a great watch as well. You can go over every baseball game on the board with a former MLB scout, Tokyo Brandon. And thank you all for watching. Thumbs up, like, positive comments below, and we will keep these free play videos and shows coming on a daily basis. Make sure you subscribe to Wager Talk TV and click the bell as well for an instant alert so you know when these shows go live, when my free play videos go up each and every day, Ross's, everybody else's, Tokyo's baseball show. And by the way, I post a free bonus play every day on my page along with tonight's baseball best bet. Go get a free play right now. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. You can get there quicker. WT.buzz/SM. You can follow me on social media. See on the bottom of the screen there, at Steve Merril, 2 R's, 1 L, at Steve Merril on X and Instagram. Thanks to Dan Alexander. And by the way, stay tuned. I'm about to do 2 free play videos for tonight's baseball. Phillies, Rangers, Blue Jays, Dodgers. Free plays with analysis coming up here on Wager Talk TV for Saturday. Click the bell, subscribe, and stay tuned. There's more free content coming up next.